y'all. So, car seat front and center, trafficking, children, babies, and me. I believe that I was trafficked at an early age, okay? I'm one of those people that just every time it felt like something good was about to happen to me, it would fall through right before. I mean, that's just always how it was for me. My entire life is just a series of failures. No matter how hard I worked, no matter what I did, I never ever got off the ground. I never got accolades for anything. I never was recognized for anything. The only time that I actually got any kind of recognition or anyone even noticed me was on YouTube, reading about the freaking Trump presidency. And even then, I feel like I was like almost like fully getting endangered every day and infiltrated every day. So like, I don't even think it was like the highlight of my life. It essentially, I think, destroyed my life. Whatever that small amount of recognition even was, if it even was recognition, because I was probably surrounded by the biggest terrorist groups of the world, and I got into espionage. So I don't know if you would call that your height of glory, but that is my life. And I definitely feel like I encountered people high up in intelligence, and I probably had the most interactions with people that were at a certain status or power than I had in my entire life, where I was being recognized or noticed by them behind closed doors. But I don't think that it actually like got me anywhere. So here I am today, and I have a lot of questions. So one of the main questions that I have right now is that there's a certain celebrity that entered into my life around 2020. And the interaction happened, I believe, actually through the TV. I initially thought it happened through like the metaverse or through a dream state encounter that was maybe set up by somebody. But I think I actually ran into him through the television set, which is interesting to think about because, you know, a lot of people talk about the TV being a portal of sorts. I mean, the whole idea behind a television is kind of interesting. So it's something we never think about, but perhaps it is almost a form of a portal. But I remember watching him in one of these specific scenes, and then it was almost like I was in the scene with him, and like our souls went in, like it was almost like our souls ran into each other, and we were like, ah! And that was kind of like the first encounter. And then he came into my dream. Okay, I want to say within nights of that interaction through the TV. I don't know if we are aliens or we're aliens or we were messed with some way biologically at that point in time, or it was something maybe on like a soul level. I have a 9 of Cups coming in around that energy, and there's something with a baby coming through and a heart. So I don't really know. The show was Heart of Dixie, and that was the show. The location is set in the heart of Alabama, in the heart of the South. And if you really go into it, you could start to kind of like dissect the messaging in the show in terms of, it's just weird because like I kept getting messages that, you know, one of the people that was like quote unquote like holding me hostage was Lieutenant Dan out of Alabama. And I just think it's like a little strange because I feel like the beginning of my demise started with watching the show Heart of Dixie. But regardless, there was a lot of similarities between me and that show. I should probably look up the writers on that show because I created like my own little American brand that of course never got off the ground, all by design, where I was designing these type of dresses that were very similar to the dresses that the women on that set were wearing. And they were called the Bells, okay? And so I actually have headshots of a dress of this orange polka dot, huge kind of belly kind of dress. And I designed that dress as they were filming that show. I didn't even know about that show. I had no knowledge of that show whatsoever. But my entire brand was like this Southern Belle All-American brand. And it also was like very vintage inspired as well. It was kind of like a modern take on the vintage homemaker, okay? And so everything was made from scratch. I made my own like very Southern candles. I had a lot of people in LA go, you know, you would be perfect in the South. You would be perfect. Your dresses, everything. You're made for the South, because I would make, you know, homemade jellies and jams and things like that. I was really into preserves. I was really into the art of homemaking at that time. And I was really into the South. I wore cowboy boots everywhere I went in LA. I had like a y'all, you know, sweatshirt in LA, which is like odd, like to be wearing all these country things. I was like obsessed with that kind of a thing. And eventually I moved to the South. I moved to the heart of the South. I literally moved to a town that looked just like the heart of Dixie. Yet I knew nothing about this show. It might be another 4 years before I even discovered that show. So it's like I was living a parallel universe or life of that show. And that also kicked off the interaction between me and one of the people who starred in that show at the start of my like physical attack on US soil. So I have a lot of questions about that celebrity, because he started to show up in my dreams a lot. And then eventually it felt like we were having almost like interdimensional experiences and interactions with one another through what feels like might have been the metaverse at that time. And I had a lot of confusion because I felt like I was like super, what's the word? I felt like there was like this magnetic pull energetically to this person. Like they held some kind of a key of information in some way. I don't know. I have a Queen of Pentacles coming up. I feel like it became almost like a quest for me to figure out why this specific person was like coming into this alternate reality and why I was around them so much. I was on film sets with him. I knew what he was working on, but I didn't know like the name of the films, but I could tell you what he was wearing. You know what I mean? And then like I would find out a year later the movie would be released, and you know, somebody would let me know that a movie came out, or somehow I stumbled upon it. And then I was like, oh, that's what he was filming when I was on set with him. He was like that. Okay. So these felt like very like real interactions. And at that time, there was like this big emphasis on twin flames. And so I don't know if that was something that was more a military operation or if that was actually real. And in some way, the twins were being activated because of infiltration into the spiritual realms through different forms of spiritual warfare. I don't know what that was exactly, but from when I would read on twin flames, a lot of the information I would get is that not everyone had a twin flame, and that the certain souls that had twins were here on special soul missions. And essentially, it's almost like a safety, and like they're blocking my voice. Here comes the Navy patent. They don't want me to talk. The twin flames in some way are like a safety belt for you. Okay, so your twin is like a safety belt. And so essentially you guys are connected through some type of a spiritual cord, so to speak, an energetic cord. And if one of you gets off mission, then the other one essentially like yanks you back. And so I think that we were definitely like off soul mission for sure. And my interactions with him, like whatever, he was going through some stuff and then I was going through my own stuff. But it feels like we were mirroring each other in some effed up reality. And when I would go back and research, you know, who he was and what he had worked on, we were literally like mirroring each other our entire lives. Like it was like to a point where it was like really kind of creepy. It was like the shows he was working on and acting on were what I was talking about on my YouTube channel. And I did not even know who this person was at all. And it's like we were completely mirroring each other. So I kept kind of like saying, if he could hear me, like, stop taking shitty roles. Because it was like directly affecting my life. Like, obviously, if we're connected in some way, let's just say we were connected on a soul level and he's doing Heart of Dixie, that's fine. It was light. It was fine. It was an okay chapter of my life. You know, I obviously seem to enjoy that part of my life. So, you know, stay in that energy, but don't go to the freaking dark side, which is where he was going with all of his freaking films and TV shows. So I felt like he was like kind of fucking my life up. I mean, these were just like my conclusions because I was like, something's not right with me and him. Like something's not right. I find it odd though that we never crossed paths in LA, but then there's a part of me that's like, did we? Because I crossed paths with a lot of people in LA. And now I'm understanding why. And there was one specific Halloween party I went to in Hollywood, and I'm almost thinking I might have crossed paths with him at that party. I'm almost thinking he was at the same party as me. I just feel like I was around him. I do feel like I was probably around him because I crossed paths with people that are around him. But we never actually like came in contact and was like, hi, how are you? Like we didn't know, we've never known, and we've never had a physical in-person interaction on this planet. Let's just put the freaking twin flame thing aside and let's just say, okay, maybe that's not a thing. Every time I read on the situation with this person, because it seems that every single time I do a twin flame clearing, he literally, it feels like he comes into my freaking energy field, okay? Like it literally feels like I'm like, oh, he's here again. Like, I guess I did the clearing yesterday. I did the meditation, or I might say a prayer, and it's literally like he comes into my energy field and I feel him all of a sudden, where I might not have felt his energy for months, okay? So it is a little odd. And that's what makes me feel like maybe there is something more on a spiritual level. And there are a lot of synchronicities between just our lives and people he's been around and things like that. There's like a lot of weird synchronicities with names and things like that. So when I was reading on him and actually figuring out what this was, it takes me to Manhattan. Okay, so that's where it leads me. It leads me right to Manhattan, which is not a shock at all. Because I keep tracing my, I guess, trafficking back to Manhattan. And I'm understanding now more of what that is and how essentially our country has been moving us or selling us through our codes. So when I go back to Manhattan, now I have done some research on him to try to figure out why this is even happening. His mother is in Manhattan, okay? And I know she worked in Manhattan, and she was a writer for a very successful newspaper column, I believe, which was a feminist column, okay? So there are these things about his family that are very similar to my family. And so it is interesting. Because my mother, I believe, was one of the original feminists, okay? And she was really big about women's rights, okay? And she even wrote about it in letters to her friends, because in that time period, it was very common to write letters to your friends. And I have letters that my mother wrote about her views on being a feminist. And so that's interesting to me about his mother being very similar. Okay. Has those same kind of, forthright views. Her column was, from what I read, very controversial at the time and was groundbreaking in some way because she was one of the first voices of women to speak on these topics. Okay. You can research a lot of her story online, and she speaks very openly around a love affair with J.D. Salinger, which is a very famous writer. He has a military background. So that's the thing that I'm like, because I'm really intrigued by anything military because of everything that I've gotten involved with. And so she talks about him manipulating her and how he quote unquote groomed her. Okay. And it sounds very similar to a lot of the interactions I've had within these portals of being a sex slave. Okay. And that's essentially what they turn you into. That's part of the monarch mind control. And that is part of them having ownership over you. And the interactions I've had with people who I believe are in our military are pretty dark. And the things they've said to me while committing pretty dark acts against me are disgusting. And it is in an effort to degrade you, humiliate you, and to make you feel inferior to them in some way. And it is also a form of sacrifice. Oh, there goes a pickup truck, similar to what he would ride on in his show. There's like nobody here. I thought this was a dead end. There's all these cars that come through. So anyways, back to Manhattan, I have been getting specific ties to Tiffany's, okay? And Tiffany's is famous for the lock and key necklaces, okay? And from what I have gathered through these interactions, this is symbolic of the trafficking. Now, when I had read on my channel on the Tiffany's fire, I specifically was getting something connected to bonds that they wanted up in flames. And to me, I'm thinking now these are the US tax bonds connected to the trafficking. Okay, that's how I'm thinking now in hindsight. Like they're hiding something through that fire. And it was, I want to say 24 hours after I did that reading that I had seen Donald Trump through the metaverse write some type of hit monies out for my life with witnesses. And he had 2 suits come in through this headset and said, today you're going to die. Today is going to be your last day on earth. This is the easiest way. This is how we've decided it has to happen. It should be short and pretty painless. And they hit a button and they tried to kill me with an energy weapon. And they hit it twice. So I have learned something very hard around how Donald Trump handles his business, and it is just by killing and his enemies. Anyone he deems as a threat, he kills. Okay? That's just how he is. That's how he operates his businesses. He kills people. And I can't help but think, because of the channel and because of everything that's happening and all the spiritual work I have been doing for the last decade, okay? I was really into yoga. I did a lot of spiritual work. I did a Mayan ritual, a Temazcal ceremony to cleanse myself, to heal myself. I did a lot of stuff to do inner work on myself, including, working, with doing readings, working one-on-one with clients, helping clients. I helped a lot of clients on the back end. I started to work more with my spiritual gifts, and I began to, I guess, what they would say, awaken consciously shift, and I, didn't see the world the same way anymore. And that essentially did become my golden ticket, so to speak. Not to mention, I don't know, Willy Wonka could be connected to that in some way, but that really was my leg up on this attack, was the spiritual work that I did. Working with the light. I mean, that's literally what I feel got me through my darkest moments, was that consciousness that a lot of people don't have until they go through their own ascension, okay? Through their own awakenings. And that's a lot of work. You have to do a lot of healing. Past life traumas come up in that work. Any traumas from childhood come up. You have to work through everything. That means you're clearing out all of your karma from every lifetime to ascend. It's hard work. And people, I feel, within this metaverse or within my YouTube community looked at me like, I want that. They just wanted to take what I earned, essentially. They wanted to take my karma. They wanted to take everything from me. And that is just very symbolic of everything they have done and taken from me my entire life. So light workers became like a hot commodity around 2021 because the dark, the Satanists, started to realize that they had the karma, okay, the good karma, and they wanted that. And that became part of one of their initiatives, was to go after the light workers and their DNA. And that also was part of the Kundalini awakening, which I believe was actually just a military operation. I believe it was monarch mind control. And that was a break-in into the highly spiritual, okay, the healers of the world, the people who had the best karma, who were the most ascended, who had the highest protections. That's the break-in, okay, to infiltrate us. And that's also the protections of the earth. That's the protections of the world. So people like Putin were gunning for us, okay? Because we had a leg up. So when I go back to these tax bonds, it's like takes me to the 80s, okay? And so I'm not sure if they did a ritual around that time, but I do feel there is something that ties me to this specific celebrity, who I'll leave unnamed because they attack me when I freaking name him. I think there's something that happened in Manhattan, because I know I have direct ties to Manhattan, and he does too. So literally just now, I just had a flash around the event that happened in Manhattan that was called Tap-O-Mania, okay? So in Manhattan, all these people like flocked to, I want to say it was 34th Street. It might have been right in front of Macy's. And everyone was going to carry out a tap routine at the same exact time. And it was supposed to be this really big event, okay? And yes, of course, I was there. I'm not specifically sure, but I did feel like I stumbled across something when I was first trying to figure out who this person was. And he might have taken tap. I'm not sure. He might have done tapping or some type of dance. But I did notice, like, when it came up what his hobbies were as a kid, I had the same exact hobbies as him, which I think is a little weird, okay? And there's a lot of synchronicities. I mean, we definitely have a lot in common in terms of like what we did growing up, okay? Like a lot of it. So I don't know if that event, you have to sign up for it and you give your information. I don't know if it's something like that coming up. I have a King of Cups coming in around that. Because I know when you sign something, it's important, okay, with your information. So what is it that, is there a ritual? Was there something that tied me together with this person in Manhattan? Was there something? So I have the 9 of Pentacles coming up around that right now. This feels like Rachel Bilson coming in right now, which is like weird. I'm with an octopus. What the hell is this? 10 of Wands. So she was in my dreams and interactions just as much as Wilson. I'm just going to say his name. I don't even care. And I don't even call him by his even nickname. So I think that, like, I was just as much around her as I was him. So that's another thing that's a little strange. Now, her father was in the industry, okay? I believe he was, I don't know if he was a producer or a director, but she grew up in the industry. Like, I know they're Jewish. And I don't mean to be like anti-Semitic or not, but I did work for a Jewish boss and they auctioned off the girls at their bat mitzvahs and they sold them. I was hearing how much they were going for. Okay. And that was in the heart of, might have been West Hollywood. Okay. So they're Jewish. So I don't know if it's something like that where she's tied into this in some way, or if they did some kind of a ritual on her. There's something coming in at 9 of Cups again. Baby ritual is coming in with a heart. And then it goes back to Heart of Dixie. She plays, I don't even remember her name. Something Heart. So I don't even remember her freaking name. So now Bohemian Grove is coming in as well, tied to this. And they are known for having an event in California every year where I believe they sacrifice babies. A baby. And I think since it's been infiltrated by Russians, it's gone rogue. Okay. So it could be tied to Bohemian Grove, which is also tied to many of the presidents. Which I do think in some way, karmically, I am like coming back in to like haunt them for what they did to me my entire life. I literally think I'm the mirror coming in the most effed up way possible because of what they did to me and sacrificed me my entire life. Because I have karma with Donald Trump, with George W. Bush. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I have karma with. I think I have karma with some military who probably sacrificed me as well. Because I honestly think this is why this whole thing is happening with my channel and everything. I think that's like honestly why I ended up moving up the ranks, like my military ranks, because it's like I am seriously like the light. I am the freaking light, like staring back at them. It's like in some way they are a piece of me because they sacrificed me. And in some way it's like I was able to navigate this space and somehow move up the ranks to a presidential rank. And now I'm like back in their faces, going back in. I'm back in Manhattan. I'm woken up almost every day by Manhattan. I am woken up every day. I'll be woken up by the feds. Usually it's the feds. I think they'll come in doing all, like the feds are, it is not normal. I told you all, they hot wired my freaking left foot. I get calls on my left foot. It vibrates when I get a phone call from Manhattan. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's a mystery. But I know I can feel the energy. Like I am coming in to Manhattan. Like, there is like, I can feel it. My energy is coming in. It is like, you know, a storm of blazing. It's a blazing storm. And somehow Wilson is tied into whatever this is. Because there's no way he would not be, there's no way his energy would be showing up in my reality in this way, in a way where it just feels like he's like almost like there or in me in some way, if he's not directly tied to whatever this is. Because it's one of those things where it like never goes away. You know what I mean? It like never goes away. Because I'm on like year like 5 of this interaction with him. And I am constantly like, what is this? You know? Because it's not necessarily romantic, okay? It feels like it's a karmic thing. It's like it feels like it's like a soul tie or connection. Like it's something that is like, we're like, there's something tying us together and back together in some way. Like there's something that it like has to like be finished in some way, or I don't even feel like it's finished. It has to, it's like there's something with our mission, or there's something connecting us to whatever this is. So if you guys have any ideas what this is, let me know. But I think it is something karmically like coming up. I am seeing Studio 64. Is that what it is? I know there's also his karma with me and John Travolta because of his him and my dad. And I know that he filmed in Manhattan. And I know there's definitely direct ties to him. I think they've done something. Like, it's like they messed with the bloodlines or something. I think they messed something up. Like, pretty bad. Whatever they did. Because I feel like I've had interactions with his sons. He has more than one son. He has like 4 sons. He has other sons. He has other children. And I think how it's coming in is like the karma's coming back around through, it could be through the children. It could be through the children. For some of us, and for others of us, some of the children might be going through karma because of what they were involved with. It's a weird time right now, and I think sometimes trying to make sense of it spiritually is almost more digestible than the actual realities we're living in right now. So I will leave you guys there. I am sending you guys so much love and blessings. Thanks for watching, sharing. Thank you for your patronage and everything else. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye.